The FBI completed their extensive search of that lake in San Bernardino, believed to be a dumping ground for the shooters Syed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik. Investigators, though, they haven't revealed which items they've recovered. Apparently, they have recovered something, though. In the meantime, the shooter's friend, Enrique Marquez, who supplied them with the 2 assault rifles, he talked all the time about terrorism in the past, saying there's so many sleeper cells, so many people just waiting. Dietl, former New York City police detective, Eric Guster, criminal defense attorney, and Steve Rogers, all back with us. This guy, apparently he worked at a spot called Morgan's Tavern. It was, one of these dive bars, and he cleaned, he did all kinds of jobs. But he talked about not having cash, trying to lose weight, wanting to join the Navy. But he also talked about these cells.
You know, he's completely cooperating with the FBI, very obviously. And I think he's a good source to learn of exactly what was going on.
But before we get there, if I go to a bar next door, and there's a guy working around, nondescript, cleaning toilets, maybe hauling ice, but every now and then he takes a break and says, man, life is tough, but I know there's all kinds of sleeper cells. I mean, we should start paying attention to that. Maybe in the past we all would have written that off.
Well, I'm going to say something right now. I know Eric's going to get jumpy on me. You know what? I'm sorry. We got to start profiling. We got to start profiling when people act like a terrorist, when people start growing that facial hair and start growing that facial hair around their chin, and because we know, for one thing, with
that's criminal profiling.
Hold on a second.
Racial profiling.
Well,
so that's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong with what you just said.
Profiling?
With that type of profiling, there's criminal profiling and there's racial profiling.
When people are acting in their garage at 3 o'clock in the morning, you see Middle East-looking guys walking in and out at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Now, you can't, hold on. Now, you can't just say Middle Eastern guys. Now, that's inappropriate.
Well, why?
That is racially profiling.
But why is it
Middle Eastern?
Well, what do you think they look like? They grow the facial hair, and you know for yourself, the ISIS guys cannot shave the beard. If they start, if they're radicalizing,
that type of profiling is inappropriate. But if you see something wrong, you do need to report it.
Well, why can't I knock on their garage door and say, excuse me, this is Detective Bo. What are you doing in there, baby? Well, what's wrong with that?
People do need to make sure that we call authorities if we see something weird. But as far as racial profiling, that's inappropriate.
That's not racial.
Yes, it is. You mentioned them being Muslim, so that is racial profiling. That threw in the racial.
Well, hold on one second, Eric. If they're Muslim and you're nervous and you live near them, you don't want to say anything, but then all of a sudden you do start hearing racket at 3 in the morning. Packages are being delivered all the time. Something isn't right. Something is odd. When can you say something without being in trouble yourself?
Right. Well, you can always say something without being in trouble yourself. Now that is
so then I think, let me ask you, Steve. I would, at this stage of the game, then, it would be better to run the risk of being called a racist rather than let someone build 30 pipe bombs and amass 70,000 bullets to go to war with our neighborhood.
Yeah, but the point is this, you know who lives in your neighborhood when you see something out of the ordinary. We've been conditioned from the White House down, if you see something, say nothing. And to Eric's point, if you see something that just isn't right, you could call any time, and it's done a lot.
What did the White House say? The White House did not say, see something,
the political
correctness. The White House has conditioned the American people because of political correctness.
Muslims no good.
So you're saying the White House has caused all this?
Well, I think Eric, what a lot of people are saying, though, like, take, for instance, the clock boy. The clock boy comes in, he's got this clock with wires, and the school is afraid. Next thing I know, he's at the White House. But next thing you know, he's at the White House. He's at the White House.
The school was not afraid. They did not evacuate the school. If they thought that was an actual bomb, they would have evacuated the school.
Eric, if I may, I'm going to let you know something. What happened in France, in Paris, all of a sudden, once it happens, all this political correctness is going to go out the window, and all it's going to happen, there'll be no warrant. When I go into his garage, I'm going to be able to go into that garage and find those pipe bombs, because there's a lot of stuff going on.
And when did the President of the United States ever come to the defense of the police?
Never.
I am yet to see that.
Only when that is
not true. He has spoken of, no, that is not true. He has come to the defense of police. You can't sit there and actually say that and be honest about it.
And that is not true. We have too much political correctness.
I just want to ask you, Bo. So are you saying that we're on the path right now to some form of martial law?
Right now, we have too much political correctness against Muslims for some reason, more so than anything. When the president has his attorney general comes out and said, we're going to make it a crime, it should be a crime against everyone. Why signal out against Muslims? If you do something wrong against anyone, it should be. Why should we
Eric,
be so
they were talking about that because the Muslims were getting a lot of grunt of racist epithets. They were being, they had pigs thrown at their mosque,
which is wrong. Which is wrong.
Being burned. And that's what we're speaking of. That's why it was important for the Attorney General to come out and say that, because the rhetoric has caused people to say different things.
I agree, but shouldn't the Attorney General also come out and say, you know what, the NSA needs the capability and the ability, as well as local police, to do their job. The data mining, as we know, could put an end to all of this discussion.
It'd be one hell of a tool. Guys, we got to leave it right there. We do